I'm Alex Vetter. I'm the marketing manager here at EasyMorph, and we're thrilled to have you joining us for today's session, Managing Data Quality Part 1 of our two-part webinar series. Whether you're joining us live or watching the replay, thanks for taking the time out of your day to be here. So today we're starting with an introduction. We're spending about 10 minutes. Why are we talking about the data quality process and why EasyMorph? Next, we'll pass it off to Matt Fryer, who will talk about identifying data quality problems and exploring relationships in data. And then Dimitri will talk about how you can build automated pipelines to identify data quality problems. And finally, we'll end off with a Q&A. So throughout, please type your questions in the chat, and we'll answer them at the end. Today, you'll be hearing from two of the top minds in the data quality space, each with over 25 years of hands-on experience helping teams overcome complex data challenges. They bring a rare combination of technical depth and practical know-how that will help you discover smarter, faster ways to manage data quality, whether you're in IT, operations, or business analysis. So first up, we have Dimitri, our founder and the creator of EasyMorph. He'll be introducing the data quality process, and later he'll talk about building automated data quality pipelines. Dimitri is a pioneer in making data automation and validation accessible, even for teams without technical backgrounds. So his approach has helped all sizes in over 45 different countries build scalable workflows that reduce hours and save hours of manual work. And then you'll hear from Matt Fryer, our technology evangelist. Matt works directly with customers to tackle real-world data issues, from chaotic spreadsheets to broken dashboards. And today he'll show you how to explore and profile messy data using EasyMorph's visual tools. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to Dimitri, and go ahead and take it from there.
Yes, let's talk why data quality. So why are we even talking about data quality today? I like saying that data quality is the most boring problem in data engineering, but at the same time, this topic and data quality has a huge impact on basically anything that is built on data in an organization. So your operational automation and business activities, your decision making, your collaboration. So if you work with data, then data quality is essential. And of course, if data quality is not good, then it causes many problems of different scale in your organization. Starting from operational problems, let's say your front desk personnel need to contact the customers, and then let's say a phone number is missing one digit, and they cannot contact this person. Or when it comes to decision making, if data is poison, there are errors in your data that doesn't make business sense. It can skew your KPIs, and you may look at numbers and may not even realize that those numbers don't make sense anymore. And of course, it's extra costs and extra labor, especially if you still use tools that are not well suited for handling data quality. You look at spreadsheets, and then you go through spreadsheets, through formulas, trying to find errors. Or if you deal with databases, and then you need to write SQL queries every time in different ways, just to try to understand trying to pinpoint the root cause of some discrepancy in your reports. So that takes time, that takes money, and it's just tedious and boring. And data quality is like clean streets. Everybody likes to have it, but nobody wants to actually do it. So what we will be talking today, we are going to show you how you can manage and build and manage an end-to-end data quality process. And what we are offering today is a suite of tools, and you will see it later in this webinar, how you can manage build and manage this process, and it's not stupidly boring. So it actually works. So we provide a good set of tools that would allow you to identify, to find it, identify problems quickly and with the least effort. EasyMorph, being a data automation tool, also provides quite a good range of options for detecting data quality problems, and not just detect it, but also you can automate reaction depending on severity, depending on where the problems are found. So you can have a whole range of options for reacting. And finally, and this is something that you won't see often in data engineering platforms, but EasyMorph also offers means for managing how these problems get resolved. And that's why we are saying that the data quality process can be automated and covered end to end with EasyMorph. It's a big topic, so if you talk about the webinars plan, it's a big topic to discuss. Alex, can you switch to the next slide, please? And that's why we split our webinars in two. So there are two webinars. Today is the first part, and in 2 weeks will be the second part. Today we will be talking about how to find and identify data quality problems, what kind of data quality issues you can run into, how to handle each type of data quality issue, and what tools EasyMorph can offer in regards to that. We will start talking about automating detection, but it's a big topic, so we will continue talking about how to automatically detect data quality problems in the second part of this webinar, which will be on July 9th. So make sure you book it in your calendar. Also, in the second part, we will cover options to react, how to react to data quality problems and how to resolve them. Everything will be demonstrated, so it's not just words. You will see it in action. You will see how it works, and we hope that after seeing and watching the webinars, you will get a better idea, and you will see that you can actually, so data quality in general is frequently viewed as something, it's like inevitable evil. We recently talked to one customer in the UK, and they had hundreds of data quality problems accumulated over years. And after we introduced them to certain tools in EasyMorph and show them how they can manage it, they managed to resolve 1,500 data quality issues in about 2-3 weeks, just because they had tooling how to do that. So what I wanted to say is that with EasyMorph, you will be able to build something that actually works, that can make a change. So that's the goal of our webinars. We reserved 10 minutes at the end of the webinar for questions and answers, but let's not be restricted to that. We are always open for a talk, for a chat. So whenever, if you feel like this topic is relevant to you, please feel free to book a demo, book a call with us. You can do it on our website, or Alex will post a link in the chat later today. So feel free to book a demo, a call with us, and we can always discuss more and talk more and see what we can do to help you to manage data quality. That's all I wanted to say. So now I'll pass the mic to Matt, who will talk about identifying data quality problems.
Thank you. As Dimitri said, the first sort of issue with identifying data quality problems is being able to explore the data and to find what those data problems may be. the scale of those problems, and also what specific types of problems exist. There are three main types of data quality problems that can exist. The first is missing data, and that can be an entire record or many records of data that are missing, but it can also be specific values in the data. I may have a field that's always intended to be populated, but if it isn't, that data doesn't pass through, it doesn't get fed into my BI system, and therefore it doesn't end up in the reporting tool at the end of the show. And so I never see that error even exists, and I'm potentially reporting wrong numbers. The next main category I refer to as technical data problems. They are sort of fundamental problems in the structure of the data, and they're normally obvious to data people who are very experienced with data. So things like the wrong data types or numbers being stored as text, they can cause all sorts of issues, again, in BI tools, where they tend to just try and be helpful and ignore text values when they're doing any kind of summing up of numbers to give you a KPI. But there's other types as well of more technical issues around how long or short should values be. Dimitri mentioned phone numbers. Again, they expected to be a fairly standard pattern and length, and if they're not, that may well be a data quality problem. And the last kind of category of data quality problems are more kind of business or logical problems in the data. They're not something that's structurally wrong, that maybe a data person or an IT person would even realize existed. But those in the business who understand the business well, they live and breathe the operational side of the business, would look at those set of data and realize that there is a fundamental problem. Maybe a product is only ever sold along with another product, and so if it appears in the data on its own, it's probably a data quality issue. Or stock might be in a warehouse where it shouldn't be. Maybe it's a business issue and that stock needs to go and get moved, but it could also just be a data quality issue. And those three types of data quality problems or issues that can exist are often not handled by all tools. Many sort of data BI, data processing, ETL, and even data quality tools aren't capable of providing to users the tools to meet all three of those categories of data quality problems. The results of all these problems are that data ends up in those end BI reporting systems, and we might see that a number is wrong and we don't think it's correct. We then have a massive problem to work backwards from that to try and get to a point of understanding why that number is wrong and where exactly in the source data the problem existed. It's much better to be far proactive about that, and as we talked about in that process, being able to look at data quality in the source systems wherever it resides, to be able to pull that out, start to explore it and investigate it in its raw form or in any stage in its processing or manipulation through ETL, means I can identify very quickly when those issues occur, hopefully resolve them and stop them ever getting into the end systems. So let's take a look at some of the tools that are available manually in EasyMorph to start with, that let me to really dive into the data and explore it and understand it and see if there may be problems there and what they might look like. I'm going to use an Excel spreadsheet because it's simple and easy and we're all far too familiar with them. But the same applies to any data set, whether it be a database, a cloud-based BI or data platform, or any other kind of source of data, any file type. EasyMorph supports just about every source of data you could imagine. On opening a single table of data, EasyMorph lets me see the contents of that data, and a couple of important points to note. The first is that it shows me all of the data. It doesn't try and restrict me to a sample of the data because it's too large. The underlying in-memory technology behind EasyMorph means that it can hold the entire data set, even with record sets containing billions of transactions. It will show all of that data, and again, that means I can see it all, and therefore I can potentially identify the problems in it. If it was just a sample, the specific problem might not appear in that sample, and therefore I may never be able to track it down and identify it. The other thing to note is that it displays all the values in the table, very much like Excel, where the justification of the value left or right within the cell indicates the data type. Numeric values are displayed on the right. That includes dates stored as numerics, and text values, including dates stored as text, appear on the left. That can instantly let me spot some of potential issues that might exist in the data. As an example, I have a number here which appears to be a number, but it's justified to the left, and therefore I have a fairly strong indication that may be being stored as text incorrectly. The first set of tools then to start to look at that data in more detail within EasyMorph are known as the profiling tools. And the first is to profile a single cell. I can right click on any cell value, click on profile, and I get a nice little pop-up window which hovers above my data, and I can see some generic information about the type of data in that cell, as well as information that's relevant to the data type. In this instance, it is indeed text. It's 3 characters long and there's no extra spaces. I can leave the window open and I can start clicking around other cells very quickly, so I can spot what I might think are other issues. I think that looks like I've got spaces on the front. I have indeed. And I can very quickly sort of pick out the potential issues I see and look into those. That can obviously be very slow if I've got larger volumes of data. So thankfully, there are lots of other profiling tools. The next of which is to profile an entire column for information. The profiler dialog for a column is very big. There's lots of functionality within there. I won't go into all of the details because we don't have enough time today, but I'll pick out some of the most important points. The first is that it allows me to see the distinct list of all values in that column, and I can browse those, spot any that might look odd, select them and filter by them in order to see how many rows are affected, what that data exactly is, both in a quality problem, but also the scale of it. I can also do advanced searching and filtering on conditions as well to really hone in on specific problems. The next feature is the Profiler tab, and that gives me a very much a high level view of all the records in this cell, or in this column, should I say, and the data types that are there, and some extra information about them. This is my ID column. I'm expecting this to be my sort of primary key, my key column in my data, and therefore I expect it to be a numeric value and an integer. But I can quickly see that there are in fact 3 that are text. We've already spotted a couple. And also there is a value that is got a decimal value. It's not an integer. Those are probably errors, and I can very quickly click on any of the filter icons next to any of the information, and it will add the relevant actions to my EasyMorph table, filter to just those values, and let me see what those errors are and explore them and dive into them. The other feature I'll point out is the Suggestions tab. This is one I really like. It takes some of the effort out of finding the problems. By EasyMorph engine looks at the data, looks at the structure of the data types and the values in it, and reports back on what it thinks are potentially data quality issues. Obviously, we talked about already the bottom one. There's one value that's text that looks like it should be a number, but it's also found that in a column that is almost entirely unique, there is in fact a little bit of repetition. There are some values which are repeated. And again, I can filter on those values, and even some of them fix that value, adding the actions to the EasyMorph table to correct that data quality problem. And it's added that action, resolved that problem it found for me at one click. The last sort of profiling feature is to look at the whole table as a whole. I can click on any of the sort of actions, and EasyMorph shows me the data at any point in that workflow, and that's very powerful as well. I can click any action, choose to see the table metadata, and again I get that high level profile of the data types, any possible issues, missing values, that kind of high level information which can give me that first look at what quality the data might be and where those issues might lie. The main tools for really diving into the data and starting to explore it in EasyMorph exist within what we call the analysis view. Any table, I simply expand it and it enters the analysis view for me. And the analysis view is a very powerful tool to filter and even visualize data in EasyMorph, pulled from any source, at any stage in the workflow that is processing that data in EasyMorph, and allow me to filter it, explore it, understand it in lots of powerful ways. The first is simply to start adding filters to my filter panel in order to allow me to start looking at that data and diving into it. And I can pick as many filters as I like and add them in. And alone, again, that just lets me very quickly analyze the data. I can pick values, apply a filter, and I've instantly dived into that data. One point about those filters, which is incredibly powerful and often overlooked in EasyMorph, even by people quite familiar with it, is what we refer to as associative filtering. Any value I select goes blue, and I apply that filter. Every other value displayed in the filter panels which relate, are possible by my filters, are shown in white, and any values which are not possible are shown in grey. That alone, that blue, white, grey rule, can provide a huge amount of insight, both to things about the data I might not have known. It looks here like I've never sold computer hardware in Texas. That might seem strange to me. Maybe it's correct. It's an opportunity for the business, and that's an insight I can derive, but also it may be a data quality issue. Maybe I'm missing some data from Texas and I need to go and explore that. Why? Where is that data coming in? So that raw filtering of just values alone can be really powerful. And I can mix filters as much as I like, filter on as many values in as many fields. As well as those basic filtering of values, EasyMorph recently added some new capabilities we call facets. And facets are other ways of filtering values within the data, which give us more powerful ways to explore it and also potentially insights to that data. Facets are easy to access. On any filter, I can change the facet. And the first facet type, as well as the sort of default values facet, is the profiler facet. Very much like the profiling features we've already seen, exploring the data. It gives me an indication of the data types within that data that exist, any empty values, any potential errors, and I can select on them, pick any errors that may exist in the data and apply a filter and dive into that to see what that problem may be. As well as the profiler facet, I also have a time periods facet. So let's grab a date-based field. And by default, I'm looking at that by all of the distinct values in the individual dates. And again, there's thousands, and therefore it's very difficult for me to find. Using the time periods facet, I can start to explore that a bit like in Excel, where I can group up, dive into years, and then into months, into days. But EasyMorph gives us some extra options as well on how I might want to group those date values. So I could select a year and apply a filter for that and pick all the dates within that year. But I can also delve into years and quarters, years and months, even weeks. So rather than picking specific individual dates that might take me a long time, I can quickly select a range of months that I'm interested in and apply a filter, see the data within that. Also, looking at the whole list, it looks like I've only got data up to the end of September. Again, I might have some missing data. Let's go and look at that and understand why that might be the case. We also have the a facet which allows us to bucket information into meaningful thresholds that we love, and we call it the thresholds facet. The threshold facet allows me to define my own thresholds that make sense to me and my business. So maybe I think that any customer that's up to 2 years with me is a relatively new customer. I care about customers in uneven buckets, even in my data. And so I can define my buckets however I need and go back, and I then have both the information that tells me how many fit into each of my buckets, but also the ability to filter based on those values. It looks like I've got a customer that's been with me for more than 20 years. My business hasn't been running for more than 20 years. Again, I can apply that and take a look at, yeah, it looks like I've got a data quality problem. One customer looks like they've been with me for millennia. And lastly, the final facet then is our text length facet. That gives me a look at all the values and the length of those values in a string text length. Again, any really big ones, really small ones start to stand out. And again, I can start to filter those values, explore that data and find that, yeah, looks like I've got a customer with an incorrect, invalid name that's just crazy. It's another data quality problem I need to explore. The analysis view ability to filter in that way is incredibly powerful and explore the data and allows me to really start to understand what problems may exist. But there's a few extra tools it brings to the mix as well. I can create simple charts and data visualizations within the analysis view to start to help me understand the problem or even display and demonstrate the problem I found to others. Creating charts is just as easy as it is anything else in EasyMorph. I can simply start to drag information from the bottom up into my chart panel. I will create a very simple chart of my revenue by industry. Okay, let's take a look at that and change a few of our settings. Let's sort it by the biggest industries. It looks like health and energy sectors are equally big for me. Again, from a real raw technical problem, that may not be obviously an issue, but for business people who understand the business, they may think that is not the case, and that may therefore indicate a data quality issue, which is very difficult to see when just looking at thousands of transactions. Starting to visualize that data really adds that extra lens, that view on that data, which again can give you insights, but also potentially show you where there might be data quality issues. I can keep adding as many charts as I want, and I can also create what we call cross tables, pivot tables, as many of you will know them. Again, different ways to view that data in the sort of table that I've pulled in and understand it and explore it and identify where quality issues may exist. And having found those problems, I need to start to think about what I'm going to do about them. And EasyMorph lets me do a couple of final things in the analysis view to really make that ability to talk to other people about these problems and demonstrate the problems and hopefully get them fixed much easier. First is that I can save out this filtered data set, any specific values I need. I can filter my data and I can choose to save that out. Either I can save the full data set out, but I can also save out the filtered data set, which just demonstrates the individual problem. I can send that to various places back into EasyMorph itself, but also just copy it to the clipboard or even save it out as a file. Various forms of common files, Excel files, CSVs, etc. are supported, as well as some from common BI tools. One I want to highlight, though, is the EasyMorph dataset file. EasyMorph's datasets are our own tabular data file format, but they aren't just tabular. They include this analysis view as well. And so if I save my data set of problems I found out as a data set file, that data set includes the analysis view, the charts, the filters that I've also included. And we provide a free tool as well as EasyMorph called CS Viewer, which I will briefly bring to the view, which is free to download. You can go to csviewer.com today, download for anybody in the business who doesn't have EasyMorph, but also a partner or a supplier who provided the data so that you can demonstrate the problem. And on opening any dataset file, they will see not only the data, but they'll also see those filters and the charts that I defined in EasyMorph's analysis view. And again, that gives them better understanding of those problems and those insights, because until I've understood what those data problems are, what scale of those problems may exist, and specifically what types of problems, I can't hope to start to resolve them. So these are the very basic tools that exist within EasyMorph for you to manually explore. There are, of course, lots of other tools, as Dimitri mentioned, to start to identify these problems automatically and programmatically. And I'll hand over to Dimitri now so he can start to look through some of those automated tools and features to really identify these problems as well.
Thank you, Matt. And again, I'll remind everyone that if you get questions, don't delay. Don't keep them for later. Post your questions in the chat, and we will be at the end of the webinar, we will go through all questions posted in the chat, and we'll try to answer them. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So we talked about identifying data quality problems. Now let's talk about automated detection. While EasyMorph offers good tool for exploring data, analyzing it for possible issue, exploring relationships in data, you won't do it manually every time. That would be too tedious. It's a good ad hoc manual data exploration is good for investigating problems or proactively exploring data in order to identify potential or possible data quality problems. But once you already know that what can go wrong, you would want to set up automated routines that will check your data for possible problems. And you can set up these routines to test your data at different stages, because as we know, in an organization, data can pass through multiple stages. So data can be in business applications, or you can receive data from external counterparties. Then it can be aggregated or uploaded into a data warehouse or data lake, and then from the data lake it can go to different data marts, and then finally have some reports and dashboards built on top of those data marts, or maybe there is some other application that is connected to this data warehouse and consumes data from it. And you can insert data quality checks at different stages of your data lifecycle or data stream to create guards that will check, and it's like checkpoints. And even if you already have an established ETL process and you use some other application and not EasyMorph for ETL, you can still use EasyMorph to perform these checks at different checkpoints in your workflow, no matter what other technology you already use, or if you don't use any technology at all. In the next demo, I will talk about how to build automated workflows that detect different data quality problems. So what you see on my screen is EasyMorph desktop, and that's where you would design these workflows. EasyMorph desktop, it's a Windows application for visual data transformation, preparation, automation. This is done by building visual workflows that are 100% drag and drop, no coding required. So even if you are not a technical specialist, if you are not a software developer or IT engineer, you can still do this, because it's not much more difficult than dealing with Excel. So in this example, I load data from a data catalog, but in a similar fashion, this is EasyMorph's data catalog that contains different data sets ready to use for team members. But this, of course, could be any other data source, like a database or a file or a cloud application like Salesforce or Dataverse or something else. In the simplest case, we want to check. So we'll start from simple cases, and we will gradually increase the complexity of the checks that we perform. In the simplest case, we want to check if data in certain columns satisfy certain conditions. So in our case, this data set shows flight data. It's anonymized flight data, where we have a flight date, then we have departure delay, then arrival delay, then total air time. So it's how long the flight went, the distance of the flight, and the exact departure time, the same arrival time. And of course, we expect that the flight time should be positive. Look, you cannot fly a negative time. So we've created a check using the halt warn on condition action. This action simply stops workflow execution if certain condition is met. So in this case, we check that the error time should not be less or equal to 0. So let's enable this action and see what happens. You see the workflow failed, so it didn't go past this point because in one of the rows, error time is actually negative. Now we can switch to analysis view and start exploring what went wrong. But at least we have a data quality check that prevented bad data from propagating further downstream. Another option, how you can check, quickly check values for whether they are valid or not, is using the assume operator. So what you see on my screen is the expression editor. In this expression editor, so I calculate a formula where I want to convert distance from miles to kilometers. So I multiply distance by a coefficient. But even before I do that, I want to make sure that that the data in this data set makes sense. So I added the assume operator to check whether error time is positive, because if not, then it will fail with a specific error that I identify here, that the flight time can be negative. So you can insert as many assume operators in front of your expression as necessary, and all of those assume operators will check these rules before the expression is calculated. So let's enable this action and see what happens. So if I enable it, again, it fails, and I see that error that I specified flight time can be negative. So these are two simple options how to check data for simple data quality rules. So what if we need to create something more complex? In this case, we can use the full range of EasyMorph actions available for designing workflows and transforming data. When we make additional or helper calculations in derived tables. In this example, I want to check if my column names are in the uppercase. So I created a derived table. And to create a derived table, you can just select a table and click this plus sign, and you derive a table. So I derived a table. A derived table simply replicates data from the source table. And here I use the table metadata action to produce column names of the current data set. And in my next action, I again use the halt action to check, and this is the condition. This is the condition. I'll zoom in a bit. This is the condition where I check if column names contain only these characters, uppercase, Latin characters, and underscore. If a certain field doesn't satisfy that condition, then the halt action would fail. In our case, everything looks good, so nothing fails, and we can continue our workflow execution. In the other derived table, the check is slightly more advanced. Here we check if our dates are if you don't miss any dates. So in other words, if our dates are monotonic, so we don't have any gaps. For that, again, I create a derived table. I select only the flight date column, remove duplicates using the deduplicate action. Then I sort dates by the ascending order. And then I use the shift columns action to bring the previous value to the second row, and I calculate, I remove the first line, so it's not necessary here, and I calculate the difference. So this difference shows the difference in days with the previous date. And I expect the difference to be 1 day. So if the difference is more than 1 day, it means that there is a gap in dates. And again, I use the halt warn on condition action to check whether there are rows with difference more than 1. Again, in our case, everything looks good. But if we spoil our data, so let's spoil our data and let's say remove one of the dates here. So I'll select a filter, remove January 9, then see what happens. And we see that this data quality check failed because in one of the rows, the difference was 2, which signaled about a missing date. Okay, let's remove this back. So once you start creating more and more data quality checks, then your workflow logic can become quite complex because you can have tens and sometimes hundreds of data quality checks. In this case, it makes sense to organize your data quality checks into data quality pipelines. So, and let me demonstrate you this technique. In this example, we are analyzing the same data set, flight data. So it's exactly the same data set, but we organize our data quality checks in a different way. So we are building a data quality pipeline. So how does it work? So we have a separate table with the number of actions that accumulate different data quality checks into one table, to one data set. How is it organized? Here I'm using another action which is called verify data in another table. So this action has multiple pre-configured, pre-designed data quality checks for different cases. So what kind of cases? So we can verify numbers, but we can also verify text values. Let's say if contains only text values, trailing space, leading spaces, line breaks, and things like that. If we verify numbers, we can check whether a column is so whether we have different rules, whether it contains only numbers, or is greater than certain value, or smaller than certain value. So these are checks for numbers. Verify dates. A number of dates, like later than certain date or earlier than certain date, has the time part or doesn't have time part. So we can check that as well, and so on. So there are almost 50 different pre-built data quality checks that you can use with this action. So now in this case, I'm using a check that verifies that the error time and so that the error time and distance are greater than 0. So that would make sense. And apparently this check doesn't go through, and you can see the result. So if it went through, then the result will be an empty table. But since we have a data quality problem in the original data set, we receive a list of breaches for these rules. So now I can see what column failed. I can see the verification rule that failed. I can see how many total rows failed, and I can see the first failed value. So the first row where it's failed and the failed value. If I have multiple rules failed, I will see all these rules failed in this section. I can even produce my custom verdict. saying that doesn't make sense or something else, and this error, this verdict will appear here in this table. So in the next step, I verify column names, and again, it's a similar check that we did in our previous example. So I check whether column names only contain particular characters, and I entered a list of the allowed characters, and I can check chat. I could also check for the opposite, if the column names don't contain any of the specified characters, or some other checks. But what if we have rules that are not covered in the verify data action? In this case, I can build my own custom data validation rules using another action that is called call with another table. The call with another table allows me to run another workflow, and one EasyMorph project can contain multiple workflows, or as we call them, modules. So this action allows me to run another module, pass the original data to that module, and perform a custom check. So here I'm performing I'm performing a check for again for missing dates. So it's the same logic here. Except that I specify the column name to check using a parameter. So I perform a different check here. I produce a verdict, and so far things look good. And I return this result to my data quality pipeline with the option append the return data set to the input of the section. So it will accumulate, it will add up verdicts in one table. Again, let's spoil our data and remove a date. So I'll filter and remove one of the dates, and I immediately see that my custom data quality check failed. Column name flight date has a problem, and the verification rule for monotony has checked. So this is our verification rule for monotony. So if we populate this data, so we'll see, okay, so this rule failed. Okay, so this is the verdict. So verification rule monotony, it failed. Finally, a couple words about other places where you can monitor data quality, and this is validation of parameters. So if you switch to the advanced parameter mode, by default, EasyMorph shows this simple parameter editor. If you switch to the advanced mode, you will be able to define validation rules for parameters. So in this case, you use a formula to specify a condition, and if this condition is met, then the parameter will not be evaluated, your workflow will not be executed, and an error will be produced. So this is, to wrap up, this is the technique that is called data quality pipelines. But what if we need to reuse data quality pipelines? And what if you want to reuse our data quality checks across multiple workflows? How to make these data quality checks used by multiple people for multiple purposes? Because certain checks, such as phone formats, or maybe stock keeping unit formats, or security identifiers, they can be unified. They can be used in multiple places. So we will talk about that in the next part of the webinar, and we will discuss it, how it will be done using data contracts. So stay with us, book for the next part, and we will continue talking about detecting by showing the technique that is called data contracts. That's it on my end. And now let's look at the questions. So I'll stop sharing my screen, and I will go to the chat and see. Oh, awesome! We have quite a few questions here. So one question is from John. So we need to map vendor price list to our data. On our end, we have about 70 columns. Okay, how could EasyMorph help me do the mapping? It would be a graphical tool where I could drag the columns to build a mapping similar to SS. I see that, well, this question is related to data transformation, and thank you for providing an example. This topic goes a little bit further than the topic of data quality, but I would be happy to jump on a call with you, John, and we can see and maybe use your real life data. If you send an example, use real life data, how to build a mapping like that. Well, thank you for taking part in our webinar. Rob is asking, could you create some templates that outline some of the basic features of EasyMorph for data quality pipeline checks? This is exactly what data contracts are about. These are declarative templates for reusing in different places. Is there any outlook to go to a Mac version? This is a question from Rick. Well, unfortunately, at this point, we don't have plans for a native Mac version, but we have a number of customers that run EasyMorph on Macs using Parallels. It's a virtual machine that allows installing Windows to get on a Mac and running. So EasyMorph works well under Parallels. That's extra cost, but it's not too terrible. So that's doable. Nicholas is asking, how can we subscribe for the next webinar? The next webinar will be announced later today on our website, and everybody who registered and participated in this webinar will receive also a follow-up email with a link to the registration for the second part. What do you think products such as Soda or Great Expectations are offering? I don't know. I don't know. I've never heard about this this product, but Rob, feel free to send me an email to dgutkov@easymorph.com. I'll write in it at in the chat, and we can look together at these products and discuss it. Mark is asking, can corrected data quality issues be written back to host systems on? Is it a case of creating a report and give it to someone else? Yes, absolutely. You can build the logic to correct a data quality issue automatically and write it back to host systems. You can raise an issue. You can create a report. There is a variety of ways how to react to detected data problems, and this is exactly what we are going to talk about in the second part of this webinar on July 9th.
Touching on Rob's question, I'm not familiar with Great Expectations, but Soda I'm kind of familiar with. Those kind of data quality tools are very powerful and great and have great capabilities for identifying the data quality problems, but they generally don't allow you to do anything about them. I can identify them, I can maybe create a report of all the problems that I've found, but they don't have the capabilities of EasyMorphs, which also allows me to react on that, embed it within the processing of the data, so I can not only just keep looking and checking the data set over and over so that I can identify the problems, but I can real time build that capability and EasyMorph into my workflows, which are processing my data from source all the way through to BI or reporting systems to actually real time alert that those problems exist and also stop that data from processing any further because a problem has been found, so that erroneous data doesn't end up in downstream under sort of BI and reporting tools or wherever else. So they are very powerful, but big power of sort of EasyMorph's tools and doing very much the same thing in identifying is that it's part of EasyMorph, part of the engine, part of the workflow, and therefore it builds that capability in, and it gives you all of those sort of options we'll talk about in the next webinar to react, to alert, to stop data moving any further down the chain, and even to resolve them if there are easy sort of issues that can be programmatically resolved.
Nicholas,
yeah, they're very expensive as well.
Nicholas is asking, is there already documentation available on the data contracts topic? Not yet. Data contracts is something relatively new to EasyMorph in the sense that is the latest addition to our toolkit, and it's still, in a way, it's still a work in progress. So we are already working with one of our customers to iron out all the possible issues and understand better how data contracts can be used. But later this year, maybe in a couple months, we will publish on the community forum templates and the current data contracts workflows that actually do the data quality checks defined by the data contracts. So that will be available, and also keep in mind that data contracts will keep evolving. So that's why we have versions in data contracts. So newer, more advanced versions of data contracts will be available over time. So keep in mind that this topic will continue to evolve. Okay, John, so one telling that I think the table metadata used provides for fantasy. Well, thank you, John. Thank you. Yes, the table metadata tools indeed quite helpful, and we will be adding also table metadata to analysis view as a visualization object, so that you can see table metadata only for the selected subset of rows. So that will also be helpful.
There's also an action that means you can load that data into an EasyMorph workflow as well, to actually then use that information to make decisions, alert, etc. as well. So that can be very handy.
Daniel is asking, will version 5.96 will be published latest next Monday? Yes, yes, we are on track to release version 5.96 over this weekend. So we won't be triggering the update notifier yet. As we typically do, we trigger it a few days later to make sure that everything is stable and we don't overlook anything. But for those who are eager to try the new version, they will be able to do it on Monday or latest Tuesday. So yeah, I think Monday we'll do it. Lots of great features on in this version, so would be interesting to hear your opinion. It's coming, Daniel. Thank you, Rick. We are happy to have you here in this call. Again, I just wanted to tell everyone that we are not Microsoft, we are not Oracle, we are not a huge faceless corporation somewhere far. We are close to you, and we are quite open for communication and discussion. So if at some point you decide you just want to get on a call with us, with me or Matt or Alex, and just talk and just discuss, different things, how can be improved in your organization. We are totally up to that. So we would love to hear your feedback. We would love to learn about your problems and how you use EasyMorph, or how you're thinking about using EasyMorph. If you are new to EasyMorph, and this is the first time or second time you're seeing the tool, feel free to book a demo with us right today. The link is right in the chat, and we will be happy to have a chat with you. Thank you, Melissa, for the good words. Thank you for visiting our webinar. Stay with us in 2 weeks for the part 2. Everybody is welcome, and I want to thank everyone for visiting and participating in our webinar today. And I wish everyone a great day and a great rest of the week, and hope to see you in 2 weeks on the second part.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a great day.